everybody. My name is Shauna, and this is the American English Podcast. My goal here is to teach you the English spoken in the United States through common expressions, pronunciation tips, and interesting cultural snippets or stories. I hope to keep this fun, useful, and interesting. Let's do it. I'm back from a 2-month break in posting new episodes. Ooh, honestly, it flew by. The time flew by. It honestly feels like yesterday that I posted episode 200, wrapping up season 4 of the podcast. And here we are on episode 201. Today, I'll share a casual and yet somewhat dramatic story about what we did during the past few months. This is a Chats with Shauna episode. So it has a loose structure. It's not as structured as typical episodes, but in this story, you'll hear 10 expressions in context. So try to listen for all 10 and stay tuned until the very end to hear the full overview of all 10 terms. So what about premium content for this episode? Well, hold your horses. In other words, you're going to have to wait, hold on, be patient. I'll share more about premium content in future episodes. So without further ado, let's dive in. So while on break, I did a few very boring things. The first one, we refinanced our house and our truck because interest rates are currently dropping in the US. The second thing, well, it wasn't so boring. It was planning the next chapter of this podcast. And that will include new episodes that are very exciting. One of them I'm looking forward to posting about is the famous criminals, Bonnie and Clyde. I'll share the story of Helen Keller, who was both deaf and blind. So she couldn't hear, she was deaf, and blind, she couldn't see. And her story is really incredible. We'll talk about Route 66, and we'll have some 5-minute English episodes about exciting topics like exercising in the gym. I had a lot of you tell me that you also really liked Lucas on the show, so I'm going to show him your messages and convince him that it's a good idea to come back. The third thing we did, so we had refinancing our house, planning for the podcast. The other thing, we had guests at our house from California and from Germany. And I took them to a lot of the waterfalls around here. There's so many, it's impossible to see them all, which also includes really wonderful hikes. We went to quite a few breweries. And so that was really fun to show them all those beautiful places. They had a lot of fun. And then last but not least, I spent a lot of time with my girls over the past 2 months. We went to the pool a lot to swim. We went to the library. We went shopping for outfits because we planned to go to Brazil and didn't end up going. Now, this is the story that I'll expand on today because I think it's worth telling, and I know I can fit a lot of these good expressions in there. So, as you guys know, Lucas, my husband, is Brazilian, and he is a musician and music producer. So he makes songs for a Brazilian singer named Luan Santana, who is kind of a big deal in Brazil. He's like, I think Lucas explains to people here, he's sort of like the Justin Bieber of Brazil. And so every year, Lucas goes on a trip there to play guitar with Luan in a live show, and usually in front of a huge audience. This year, the show was a 2-day event in a city called Curitiba, and close to 80,000 tickets were sold. So a lot of people were going to come. It's a pretty big deal. And it was a really big deal for me and the girls because we've never seen Lucas play live. It's just been too difficult since they were born because they were just young, and I didn't like the idea of traveling with a baby to a show in a different country. It just seemed like too much. So this year, since the girls are now 5 and 6, I was like, well, let's go. Let's go and support him. Plus, I told Lucas, hey, if the girls see you playing live, they're going to think you're so cool. Now, tickets to Brazil from the US aren't typically cheap. So the first time I checked online, all of the options from Asheville cost an arm and a leg. They were so expensive. The tickets cost an arm and a leg, which is a funny expression. It sort of feels like it costs an arm and a leg, as if the airline company is like, nope, money is not enough to pay for this flight. We will require you to cut off your arm and your leg. Yeah, sure, that's a good payment. An arm and a leg. Once again, in English, we say that something costs an arm and a leg when it's expensive. But seriously, though, I don't love spending money. In English, I describe myself as frugal or thrifty. It's a nice way to say that somebody doesn't want to pay exorbitant amounts on things. They like to pay reasonable prices. I want to get my money's worth. I'm frugal or I'm thrifty. So I thought to myself, well, there's got to be another way to get to Brazil. And I mean, I'm not going to walk there. I'm not going to drive there. We got to find another flight. So to make a long story short, we ended up buying cheap tickets from Orlando, Florida to Brazil. In my head, and I don't know what I was thinking, I thought I was finding a shortcut when in reality, I made things more expensive and more difficult. It turns out I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. Have you heard this expression before? We say that someone is not the sharpest tool in the shed when they're not very smart, right? You know, tools like a nail gun, a saw. You want them to be sharp, right? You want them to not be dull. We also describe people as being sharp when they're smart or when they're witty. So it's just a funny expression, right? So someone is not the sharpest tool in the shed when they are not very smart. Orlando is 3 states away from us. It's far. So we ended up flying on an expensive flight to Orlando with so many delays that it took us 12 hours to get there. That should have taken only an hour and a half. At this point in the story, you're probably thinking, Shauna, cut to the chase. In other words, hurry up, get to the point of the story. Cut to the chase. All right. When we finally made it to our next flight, the one to go to Brazil, I could not wait to drop off our luggage because we had a lot of it, right? We had 2 suitcases, 2 booster seats, and backpacks. It looked like we were moving overseas. And that combined with traveling with kids was not a walk in the park. It wasn't easy. So when I walked up to the counter, the woman looked at me and then asked for our visas. Miss, do you have your visas? Excuse me? Visas? What visas? And it felt like time stopped. I just looked at her like a deer in the headlights. You know that look, don't you? A deer in the headlights. Yeah, a deer that's about to get hit by a car is wide-eyed, it's frozen, it's shocked, confused. It's not a good look. I looked at her like a deer in the headlights. Now, my kids don't have visas. Since the last time we traveled to Brazil in 2024, a new law has been passed that no longer allows U.S. passport holders to enter Brazil without a visa. Yeah, I should have known that, but I didn't. It's all about reciprocity. In other words, Brazil wants the visa laws to be reciprocal. Because we require visas for Brazilians, they said right back at you, we'll require you to have visas too. It's reciprocal. And it makes sense. I totally do not blame them. But what didn't make sense was how I completely missed the boat on this information. I missed the boat. How did I not know this very vital piece of information? So, before I continue to the second part of this episode, let me quickly remind you of the expressions you've heard so far. Now, if I tell you to hold your horses, what do I want you to do? Wait. Hold your horses. I'll get to that later. Or hold your horses. My hands are wet. I'll grab your bread in a second. The second one, number 2, if I tell you something costs an arm and a leg, what do I mean? I mean, it's expensive. Number 3, if I tell you someone is not the sharpest tool in the shed, I mean, they're dumb, right? They're not that smart. This one is usually used playfully. Number 4, if I say, can you cut to the chase? What does that mean? Well, it means, can you hurry up and get to the point of your story? Can you cut to the chase? Shauna, stop talking about other things. Number 5, if I tell you an activity isn't a walk in the park, what do I mean? I mean, it isn't easy. It's difficult. It isn't a walk in the park. Like traveling with kids when they're really small. Not easy. Number 6, if I say I looked like a deer in the headlights, how did I look? Confused or shocked. And number 7, if I say I missed the boat, what does that mean? Do you know? When we use the expression to miss the boat, we're talking about missing an opportunity because we didn't act in time or didn't have the information we needed. It's kind of easy to understand, right? If you're standing on a dock, the area where boats park, we typically say boats dock rather than park, but a dock is also the area where they park. So you can imagine a boat leaving a dock. Everyone who paid attention and got on board is now on the boat. And if you miss the boat, you're standing there watching the boat pull away from the dock. And yes, we use this to describe missed opportunities. So in my case, I missed the boat on the visa information. Let's think of another example. Oh, I remember Lucas told me that a long time ago, a friend told him to invest in Bitcoin when it was still cheap. And Lucas was like, nah, I don't think so. He missed the boat, right? He missed that opportunity. So those were 7 of the 10. That brings us to the rest of the story. So you can imagine the 3 of us crying at the Orlando airport. It was honestly the most pitiful thing. Slightly embarrassing to mention this to all you guys, but I like you, so yeah, it is what it is. That's how the cookie crumbles. So let me ask you, when you look at life, is the glass usually half full or half empty? In other words, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Do you look at the bright side when things are not going your way? I'll be honest, for about an hour, I couldn't help but think of 3 things. Number 1, I'm definitely not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm stupid. Number 2, oh gosh, the girls are so sad they don't get to see their dad perform. And number 3, crap, we just lost so much money. Then after about an hour, and after some talking to Lucas, it was decided we were going to Disney World. In English, we say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. In other words, when something sour happens, something disappointing, frustrating, or just simply awful, try to squeeze something good out of it, something sweet. Turn the situation around. Make the best of what you've got. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? So we decided to turn our sour situation into going to do something very nice, very wonderful, Disney World. Now, I'll be honest, I'd been waiting to go to Disney with the girls. It's not something, in my opinion, that you do on the spur of the moment, like just suddenly. For one, it costs an arm and a leg. And I also feel like you need to prepare in some ways, at least by watching the original Mickey Mouse episodes. I mean, you can't walk down Main Street of Disney World or Disneyland and have Goofy walking your direction and be like, oh, who's that character? No, I'm not going to be the parent of the kid that doesn't know Goofy or Pluto, right? That's Mickey's and Minnie's dog, and Daisy and Donald Duck. So the night before going, we binge watched Mickey Mouse in our hotel room, some of the old black and white episodes, and I'm very happy to say the girls were cracking up. They like the original Mickey Mouse. I have to say, I really liked it too. We're bringing it back. That Sunday, we put on our fancy dresses that we got for the concert and went to Disney. And if you've never walked down Main Street in Disneyland or Disney World first thing in the morning, I highly recommend it. It's impossible to stay sad when princesses are walking your way and with a view of that Disney castle in the distance. If I'm honest, walking with my daughters down Main Street gave me the chills. I remember exactly what it felt like as a kid when I was 9 and I went for the first time. By that point, I had watched so many movies made by Disney. And then to suddenly be there in the place I'd imagined 1,000 times, it was just unforgettable. As you can tell, because I'm telling you, I remember it. And seeing Julia and Clara experiencing that magic, it just felt so surreal. Like I was reliving my own childhood through their eyes. Sounds so cheesy, but it was really cool. I just wish Lucas could have been there with us. Have you ever had an experience like this? Have you ever relived one of your parents' memories? Maybe they took you to an old house they grew up in, or took you to a place that was really special. Have you ever done this with your kids, if you have them? There's something really special about that. Anyway, enough cheese. A long time ago, I did an episode on Walt Disney, episode 60. And the whole day while at Magic Kingdom, I kept remembering bits and pieces of the Disney story, which is fun. I'm so glad I remember something from those early episodes. While walking down Main Street, I remembered, this street was inspired by Walt Disney's hometown. Where was he from? Marceline, Missouri. And then later on in the day, wasn't the first day at Disneyland a complete disaster? I vaguely remember them running out of food and drinks and rides breaking. What was that all about? I had to look it up again. And apparently 15,000 people were sold tickets, real tickets, and 28,000 people showed up to Disneyland in California in 1955 on its first day. And it's because counterfeit tickets were made. Counterfeit means fake, like money printed from your home printer. So, crazy. The skies were dark around midday. And by then, we had gone on a lot of rides. So in English, we say we go on rides. We went on the jungle ride. We went on the haunted house ride. We went on Pirates of the Caribbean or Caribbean, both ways we say in American English. So that's my all-time favorite. Love, love, love it. After we went on a lot of rides, we made it to the parade with all of the characters. So we saw Mickey Mouse and Minnie, Peter Pan and Wendy, all of the princesses and dancers. And then right in the middle of it, it started raining cats and dogs. Not literally. Although at Disneyland, you never know. I'm just kidding. When we say it's raining cats and dogs, it means it's raining a lot. It's pouring. It was raining cats and dogs. So we got soaking wet, our hair, our dresses, our shoes. And it's funny also because in English, we often say, "Don't rain on my parade," when we don't want someone to ruin something nice. For example, if I said, "Yay, I'm so excited, I'm going on vacation," and you respond, "You only have 3 days off, right?" I would be like, "Man, don't rain on my parade." In other words, don't kill my buzz, don't ruin it. Don't rain on my parade. So it's kind of funny that we were watching a parade and it started to rain. But no one could ruin the fun. So what's the point of this story? Well, maybe just to teach expressions in context, to tell you a little bit about what's going on in our lives, and to remind you that when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. I think that's my motto for what's coming next in the podcast. Are you ready for it? It's my response to AI. My response to artificial intelligence. It's called the Academy. All I'm going to say now is there will be real people, live calls, lots of fun content about language and culture, and it's all coming very soon. If you want to learn more or sign up to be notified when it'll be available, check out the link in the episode description. As for Lucas, he did play live. The show went really well. I'll post the link in the episode notes for anyone who wants to see Lucas rocking out. Oh, it's good. We all watched it as a family. It just came out this past week. So even though we weren't there, the excitement definitely was. And the girls definitely think their dad is very cool. Let's wrap up this episode by doing a quick reminder of the 10 expressions used in this casual lesson. Number 1, to hold your horses. Be patient. Wait. Number 2, not the sharpest tool in the shed. Right? He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Too bad he's so cute. Number 3, to cost an arm and a leg. Those plane tickets to Brazil cost an arm and a leg. Number 4, cut to the chase. Skip those details and get to the main point. Come on, cut to the chase. Number 5, when we say something is not a walk in the park, we're saying it was not easy. It was difficult. Number 6, like a deer in the headlights. When the teacher called on him unexpectedly, he looked like a deer in the headlights. And that's how I looked when the woman at the airport asked for our visas that I didn't have. Number 7, to miss the boat, right? To miss an opportunity. Like how Lucas missed the boat on investing in Bitcoin. Number 8, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. When something bad happens, try to make something good out of it. To rain cats and dogs, right? To rain heavily. And to rain on someone's parade, to spoil someone's fun or ruin something good. I think I actually might have used a few more expressions in there. Sometimes they come out casually. Let me know if you catch any of them. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. And until the next episode. Bye, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode of the American English Podcast. Remember, it's my goal here to not only help you improve your listening comprehension, but to show you how to speak like someone from the States. If you want to receive the full transcript for this episode, or you just want to support this podcast, make sure to sign up to premium content on americanenglishpodcast.com. Thanks and hope to see you soon.